Now, back to the HaneyBiz Project with investorpreneur Mark Haney, coming to you from the Marquee Media Studio.
Welcome back to the HaneyBiz Project, brought to you courtesy of DSA Technologies and California Growth Advisors. I'm Mark Haney, and today I have the privilege of bringing on Matt French. He's the head coach of Del Oro Baseball. How you doing, Matt?
Oh, can't get much better. Look at where we are right now. It's
a
great group today, and thanks for having us.
Well, you had a great season. I want to talk about that, but I also want to profile you, Matt French. You are a business guy that has had a tremendous amount of success, but you found a way to bring that to baseball, to the sport that you love. Talk to us about your background in business.
I think for me, I wouldn't say I'm a business guy. I say I'm a competitor.
Okay.
And, my whole life, I've never been the fastest, never been the strongest, never been the smartest. But what I did have is I worked harder than most people. Yeah. And, just being humble and making sure you're asking other people questions, finding mentors. And I headed down the path in software and worked for a number of software companies. And the last one was a company called ServiceNow that went public back in 2011. Did that for 9 years and started when I was with the company, it was at $800 million. Wow. When I left, it was a $2 billion company and the second fastest growing, or the second company to hit $1 billion in the cloud space behind Salesforce.
Wow. So tremendous ride with that company. But you talked about humility, right? And you had that as a kid. You got to work harder than everybody else. Where did that come from? Did that come from sports? Did that come from maybe your parents? How did you develop this, demeanor?
It definitely started with my dad.
Okay.
And obviously my mom was there too, but my dad was the guy that said, every day you woke up, do something better than you've ever done before. And that was the line that I worked with every day. But you look at humility and
Wait, can I stop you on that for one
Sure.
second? Do something better than you ever done before. Like
That's
on
right.
a daily basis.
On a daily
do
basis.
something today that's better than you've ever done before.
Find that one thing, that one small thing, whether it's making your bed every morning or find that one thing you're going to do better that day.
Interesting. Wow. Now, are you still living by that today?
I am. I'm a little psychotic, but I'm living by
Okay,
it
what
today.
did you get back? All right, so what are you better at today than you were yesterday?
I'm looking to have my best interview yet.
Atta baby,
right.
I love it. Let's tear it up. I'm looking to make this my best show so far. We on a roll. Don't let me down now, so let's keep this rolling. Okay, so thinking about this, you have this success in business, but you as a child, as a young person, you were an athlete as well.
I was, yes.
And so talk to us about your athletic career and then how it led into the business career.
Well, I was lucky. I have an older brother who was highly competitive as well. So wiffle ball in the front yard and soccer and football, you name it. We did it every day against, I did it every day against older kids. And that competitive drive, I think, just took me through, really who I became today is just compete every day. And, from a humbling standpoint, my whole feeling about being humble is if you're not putting being humbled, if you're not putting yourself out there and taking risks, then you won't be humbled. Yeah. And so I feel like almost on a regular basis, I am getting humbled.
Was there one moment where you had a setback where somebody doubted you or didn't believe in you or you quit believing in yourself?
Yeah, I think when I was a junior, I had transferred from Kennedy High School up to Del Oro and went out for the football team. And I've started in everything I've played my entire life and was found that I was second or third on the depth chart as a defensive back. And I had sleepless nights. I mean, it's crazy what your head can do to you.
We take it so seriously because it is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big part of me. It's who I am. I'm a starter, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden I'm not. So you just buckle down and figure out why am I not a starter. Talk to the coaches. What do I need to do better to become a better athlete, become a better individual that you can put on the field and trust, and you start working on those things.
Yeah. Well, then you went on to play. When did you really develop your understanding of the game of baseball?
I would actually say it was I'm lucky. I played for Jerry Weinstein and Paul Carmazzi at Sacramento City College, and those two coaches, they were kind of good cop, bad cop, but they were just the amount of knowledge that those two individuals had of the game of baseball is what taught me. And I think what's really cool about that whole Sac City program back in the 90s and even before that, and it's doing well today, but you look at the tentacles that Jerry Weinstein has throughout baseball. And now he's the head of player development for the Rockies. But even more importantly, we played Del Campo in the playoffs. They had 4 coaches on Del Campo that all played at Sac City.
Wow.
I've got 3 guys on my staff that played at Sac City.
Incredible.
And it's just this crazy
I have
environment.
a guy coming on the show next week that played at Sac City. Now he owns a dry cleaning company in town.
That's right.
It's incredible. I agree with you, though. Is Sac City still the hotbed of community college baseball or junior college baseball? Is it what it was back in the day?
Sullivan's doing a great job, the
Okay.
head coach there. I do think there's a lot more parity. You've got Sierra College, Folsom Lake College, it's doing an outstanding job. You have Delta College. I mean, Northern California baseball, when it comes to junior college, is absolutely outstanding.
Okay, so thinking about now, you have this successful business career. Did you retire after 2011 and then just kick it around until you started coaching at Del Oro, or what did you do after you left the company that went public?
Well, let me ask you, have you ever retired?
No, not really.
I don't think there's any such thing.
I took, yeah, exactly. It's like you can't quit.
That's
Either
right.
you're either on or you're off, and it's hard to turn it off. If you're not growing, you're dying. That's how I look at it.
I did. I took 2 weeks off and was trying to figure out who am I, and freaked out.
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted to be involved in baseball, but I also realized that through my career in software, I learned so much that I needed to give that back. It was one. So I started advising a handful of high growth cloud companies. So I'm still doing that today. I knew I wanted to give back to the community. So even going back a year before I left ServiceNow, I started writing my list of big ideas. Like, how am I going to change the world? How am I going to make a dent in the universe? And one of those is I need to give back to the community and help the youth. And I always felt that at my core of who I am, I'm a competitor, and I know baseball better than most. And so I knew that was an avenue I wanted to head down. But we did some cool programs. We brought some software development trainers into Placer Elementary School, which is a school where my son goes to, and did a training for kids just to kind of expose them to new programs, but just feeling things out, trying to figure out what's next. But I don't think anybody retires. If you retire, then your motor's not running like most people.
So now you're consulting, you're helping others in the business world, but you've taken that expertise to Del Oro. Talk to us about the Del Oro baseball team.
I'll start. I'm going to expand it a little bit. First
Okay.
of all, Del Oro is there are a lot of great schools in the area, but Del Oro to me it's where I went. I graduated from Del Oro. I had an amazing experience there, from the coaching staff to the administrators that always just helped train kids to believe, taking them further than they ever thought they could. But you look at the sports program and the concept behind Del Oro and their push. I think they have, it's like 70% of the student body is an athlete. They participate in sports. And it's not so much about playing that sport, it's about being engaged in a program and having passion about something. And so I think that's where I feel extremely lucky to have this opportunity to be part of the Del Oro baseball program, because there's just so much support from the community. And again, it's not about being the best at sport, it's about being engaged. And so I reap the benefits because we have great kids that just want to work hard, that want to be on the field, want to be teammates, want to support each other, and just want to give 100% every time they're out there.
What kind of season did you guys have?
We had a very interesting season. So we started off 2-9, which, talk about a humbling experience. Your first year as a head coach and your team's 2-9. There's something wrong. It's got to be the coach. But at the same time, we had a very challenging schedule. In fact, if you were to look at Max Preps, we've got one of the most challenging schedules in all of California, if you look at the stats on it. From there, we ended up ripping off 9 in a row in league. We won 9 games in a row. We finished the season. We ended up going in the Sac Joaquin sections playoffs and entered into the losers bracket. Finished off in the championship round, beating Del Campo in game 1. So now we're all even. There's no winner, no losers bracket. And unfortunately, we just fell short in the last game. But hats off to Del Campo. That's just a great program as well.
Well, I took my grandson out to watch that game to inspire him, and he loves baseball. He's only 5 years old, but he loved being out there, seeing the men out there playing. But thinking about building a team, there's sometimes when there's teams that rally around 1 or 2 great players, and there's other times when the team relies more on chemistry. Describe your team. Chemistry,
100%. In fact, there's this one word we use, and it's gritty. And that's just never giving up, giving everything you have. But there's one thing that I've always felt at the beginning when you come in and start working on a program, and Jeff Dietrich, who was the previous coach, did an amazing job with the program, so he handed off in a really great state. One thing that I've always felt is that when you come to high school sports, it is about having those kids be passionate about the game and about each other. And so there's just some basic rules that we have that if you come watch our game, I think you'll see things a little bit different out of Del Oro than most other programs. One is after the inning's over, you put the baseball on the mound, right on the rubber. The second one is as those players are coming, everybody, even the coaches, have to run out of the dugout. Mm-hmm. And it's all about just kind of creating that team chemistry. You look at also how we run our infield, outfield before games, the pregame routine, is that we all end on the mound together. We don't come off one by one, throwing the ball to home plate and run off the field, because in my mind, baseball is a team sport. And especially in high school, if you're going to get the most out of the kids, they all have to buy into it and they have to support each other. And I mean, there's definitely days, maybe like a quarter of the time, you sit there and you can just feel there's no passion. It just doesn't exist. And what happens? It's just a really difficult few innings, but something sparks the kids. They get going. They feed off each other. And I mean, you watch the College World Series last night with the Oregon State. They ended up scoring 5 runs in the 7th inning, and it's momentum, and it's kids buying into each other and supporting each other.
Well, thinking about that, right, you've had a successful business career, you were an athlete, and a lot of these young men are not going to go on and play Major League Baseball, maybe not even make it to college or the River Cats, but you know what? They're going to be successful because of the things that they learn in high school sports. Talk to us about the parallels between high school sports and what happens in the real world in business.
Well, first of all, dream. Go for it. If you want to be a professional athlete, do it. Figure out how to get there. Have goals in mind. And like Shauna talked about earlier, sometimes you have to shift gears and change things up. And continue to reset your goals. And that's one thing we work on a lot, is setting goals, but making them realistic. So I can achieve them. Once I achieve them, reset them. Keep resetting them. Keep reevaluating them. And so I do think, it comes down to just helping inspire the kids to want to do things that they never thought it was possible.
In high school sports, and maybe less in high school, but more in the youth sports, you're seeing helicopter parents where they're really try to be involved with what's happening on the field. Instead of just being supportive, they're trying to be active. Are you seeing that out there in society? And how does that? How is that happening, or how do you deal with that at Del Oro?
I would be lying if I say it didn't exist. But you also have to remember that there's passion coming from those parents for a reason. And if you can help channel that. One thing that I've learned, again, I'm really new at coaching, so is just be over communicative. A lot of people put guardrails up and say, I won't talk to the parents. I'll talk to anybody. And I think part of it is just making sure that the parents understand the situation with the player, but most importantly, making sure the player understands, so that when they go back and talk to their parents at home, they can clearly communicate where they fit on the field and what their role is. And that role is expected to change. It might be a reduction in play time. It might be an increase in playing time. I hope it's an increase. But I do think that the communication aspect is so huge when it comes to working with the players and working with the parents and working with administrators. It's just making sure that everybody's clear about it. And I don't always do it perfectly, but I try.
Yeah, I like that. Over communicate, and it helps so much. But you mentioned that after exiting this software company, what am I going to do with my life? I had that same thing. I thought about being a high school football coach. That was my. That sounded so fun, because when you put yourself in charge of baseball at Del Oro, or football at Del Oro, or any high school, you really have the chance to shape the whole program going down to the 5-year-olds, right? So talk to us about, and you talked about that a little bit with your son at Placer Elementary, bringing in the young people, the Little League, if you will, all the way up to the varsity players. How do you bring them all in to rally around the organization?
Yeah, I think, when I first started off, one of my big ideas was to help enable the community through baseball. And I originally started working with Jeff Dietrich 2 years ago as an assistant. So I helped out with Del Oro High School. I also was on the board for Golden Eagle Pony, which is our local pony program. And the idea is really to start to integrate them a little bit more, bring in some of the learnings that we have in the high school level and deliver that and help the kids and the youth and the program and the coaches too. So today I'm obviously the head coach at Del Oro, but I'm also a VP on the board at Golden Eagle Pony. And it's just really about trying to create the consistency. To give you an example, prior to my coming on with Del Oro, the summer program that we have an 18U and a 16U program, which is not affiliated with Del Oro. It can't be. But it is those Del Oro high school kids that play in the 16 and 18U. It is now part of Golden Eagle Pony. So not only do we have for Golden Eagle Pony in Loomis, it goes from your 4-year-olds all the way up to your 18-year-olds. And we even have some kids that are looking to play that were seniors this year that are moving on and going to play in Division I and some JC programs will come and get at bats on the 18U team. So just trying to open it up a little bit and just try to connect the programs. The other thing we're doing too is that if you go out on opening day at Golden Eagle for Golden Eagle Pony, you're going to see the Del Oro baseball players there in full uniform, giving high fives, hanging out with Dinger from the River Cats. We also tried to institute a black and gold game, which was on the same day as opening day, where all the kids from Golden Eagle would come watch the inter-squad game. Well, we try to tout a little bit more inter-squad, but of the high school program.
Now, is that out at Allegiant Field?
It is at Allegiant Field.
Love
Good
it.
plug,
I got to get a
good
plug in for our charitable organization, Allegiant Field. Matt, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, for what you're doing in our community, and for sharing your words of wisdom. I think high school sports is so good for young people today. I think it helps us so much in launching our careers and giving us that confidence that we need to succeed in life. So thank you again. When we return, I'll share some takeaways with Marcus, a little story about one of my humbling moments from high school sports. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, courtesy of Ethan Conrad Properties and financial advisors, Stifel Financial. This is the HaneyBiz